Replacing a $5 part would have saved us hours of stress and gallons of ruined fuel. I'm Carolyn Sherlock, and on this episode of the Boat Galley Podcast, learn how not replacing a simple O-ring made a 10-mile trip in the Bahamas into a day-long adventure, and how not to let it happen to you. This episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by YugoWear. Yugo is the only waterproof floating phone or tablet case using dry suit zipper technology. Invest in your safety, because if you don't protect, you cannot connect. Your phone is fully functional, and there's plenty of room for your keys, cash, and cards. To get the only dry bag on the market with 0 phone fails, visit yugowear.com. That's UGOWEAR.com and use promo code BG20 for 20% off your order. Yugo. Prepare for adventure. In all of our preparations for going to the Bahamas 3 years ago, we missed a little thing that turned into a big problem. We never thought to check the O-rings on the deck fills for the fuel tanks. One was deteriorating and cracking, and letting both rain and deck wash water into our starboard fuel tank. Well, actually, I shouldn't say we didn't check it. We sort of checked it. Every time Dave filled up with diesel, he took a look at the O-ring, but he hadn't actually removed it to minutely examine it. That one looked just fine in place, and even when first removed. It wasn't until I bent it and took a highly magnified photo up close that you could actually see the cracks. Seriously, with the naked eye, you didn't see them. We ended up with a chocolate milk mess of water and soap and whatever else just emulsified in the diesel fuel. It looked like chocolate milk, brown and cloudy. Now, good diesel fuel, by contrast, is totally clear. It's usually either pale yellow or pink in the U.S., depending on where you buy it. Now, I won't rehash everything that happened, but getting that water into the tank caused us to turn around just 10 miles into a planned 80-mile trip across the Bahamas banks. And the winds turned out much lighter than forecast, which made sailing as we drained and changed fuel filters repeatedly. We were just painfully slow trying to get to any safe place. We returned back to that anchorage 10 miles away. We knew we could enter an anchor in it under sail. However, we did manage to keep the engine running just long enough. It was sputtering again as we dropped the anchor. Now let's talk about the cost of not replacing that O-ring in time. One very long day on the water, as it took us 7 hours to cover those return 10 miles. Numerous Raycor drainings and changes hanging on the back deck over the engine compartment while underway. It was a good thing, actually, that I knew how to sail the boat, because I was manning the boat while Dave was doing all the work on the Raycors. 5 Raycor filters that we had to replace in the Bahamas at a cost of $36 each. 16 gallons of badly contaminated diesel fuel, the entire contents of that tank. 4 days in a marina to be able to get rid of the bad fuel, get fresh fuel, resupply the Raycors, and have unlimited hot water showers at the end of the day when we were covered in diesel. And 1 lost window for crossing the Bahamas banks to the Berries. Oh yeah, we also had a day lugging 5-gallon jerry cans of bad diesel fuel, then of good, to and from the boat, over the lifelines, taking it in and out. We were exhausted. Those O-rings? We can get 2 for about $10. They're now part of our annual maintenance ritual, along with changing the ones on the water fills. Now, just a little related bit here. We have a do-it-yourself fuel polishing system with a drill pump and a filter funnel that we use for it. Without that gear, we would have had a much harder time recovering from this bad fuel. We use that drill and so forth first to pump samples out of both fuel tanks, which told us that one tank had a horrible problem, while the other, which was low on fuel, simply had some sediment in the bottom of the tank that was getting kicked up by passing wakes. We were then able to polish the low, good tank of fuel that we still had, so that we could motor up a channel and into the marina. And finally, that drill pump enabled us to get all of the bad fuel out of the other tank. Now, whatever you do, don't use a drill pump with gasoline. But seriously, think about getting one if you are going anywhere where there is not likely to be a fuel polishing service or a fuel pump-out service. Thank you for listening to the Boat Galley Podcast. Be sure to tell your friends about it and give us a 5-star review if you feel so inclined.